Hey, how's your week going so far? My name is Alicia.
I'm Nicole.
Why don't we take a little time away from the hustle and bustle of adulting and let's indulge our curiosities just for a bit and talk about killers, psychos, and the unexplained?
Today we are venturing into Georgia to talk about Janie Lou Gibbs and Carlton Gray.
Welcome to Georgia, home to Janie Lou Gibbs, who shocked her community between 1966 to 1967. Janie Lou Gibbs was born on Christmas Day in 1932 in Cordell, Georgia. Janie was well liked in her community and a dedicated member of her local church. She also ran a daycare from her home, caring for up to 25 children at a time. Janie was married to Charles for around 18 years, and they had three sons. Roger was the oldest, Melvin was the middle child, and Marvin was the youngest. A seemingly normal family, active in the community, loved and trusted by their community.
Wait, 25 kids in her house at one time, plus her kids?
Yes.
Girl, what?
How safe is that?
Like a daycare center might have 25 kids total. A daycare center, multiple rooms, like 20.
Yep.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, that's a lot of children.
Anyone would go crazy with that many kids around.
Apparently, she liked it.
And they're all young because it's a daycare. So they're
Correct.
not school age.
Yep.
Ugh.
Obviously, well trusted by a lot of families. But boy, outward appearances are not always as they appear. Now, are they? Life was lifing and everything was going as usual. The Gibbs family was attending church, running the daycare, and just everything was proceeding normally, as anyone could tell. Until October 28th, 1966, when Charles Clayton Gibbs died quite unexpectedly. He was around 40 years old. Janie appeared just as surprised as anybody else. After an initial autopsy, his death was attributed to liver disease. Remaining active in the community and even donating quite a bit of the insurance payout she did receive from her husband's passing to the church. Then on August 29th, 1966, her youngest son, Marvin, passed away at the age of 13, becoming sick after eating his mother's food, dying even before he made it to the hospital. Again, the initial autopsy contributed his death to liver disease, assuming that he had inherited his father's liver disease. His death certificate listed hepatitis as the cause. So again, Janie donates some of the life insurance money she receives to the church. Poor Janie, right? Losing her husband and her son in such a short time frame.
Yeah, I mean, they're all trusting her, so yeah, that's what they're thinking.
Yes. So was that October? Yeah, like in like 10 months, you lost two of your family members.
That's insane.
Yes. So they're saying, okay, well, he must have inherited his dad's liver disease. There's no other plausible explanation for this. Well, Melvin, Janie's middle son, started developing symptoms like terrible headaches. He was like pale. The whites of his eyes were becoming like bloodshot. He tried to tough it through though, until it became severe enough that Melvin did end up going to the hospital. And while he was there, he had apparently had signs of recovery until his mother started visiting him. She would pour out the water at the hospital had provided and poured water that she brought from home into those pitchers, becoming more and more sick with each glass of that tainted water. On January 23rd, 1967, Melvin died at the age of 16. His death is listed due to a rare muscular disorder. So Melvin had a girlfriend, and she said that, like, while she was there visiting, Janie would actually have her pouring water into cups and giving it to Melvin, almost as though she was trying to have her be a part of this, whatever that she was doing.
Holy crap.
After Melvin's death, again, Janie donated a portion of the life insurance money to the church. Also, from my understanding and all the things I was kind of reading, Janie became quite like bougie. She bought herself a new car. She decided she didn't want to wear the same dress more than once, so she would wear it once. And then she would donate all these items, clothing, household items, money, all to the church when she was done. So, as you can imagine, her fellow church members thought she was just very generous and very kind and just going through some things, right? Such a giving woman. But was she really? Not too many people give so freely. Perhaps Miss Janie was feeling a little guilty about something. Poor Janie has now lost her relatively young husband and two of her young children. But Janie just went on with life, keeping up with her usual routines, and friends and family said she never really lost her composure through all of this. I don't know about you, but there would be no way I would be able to keep my shit together. Like,
Girl, no,
absolutely.
like, it wouldn't matter if one of them died, but if multiple of them did, hell to the no. You would be coming to take care of me because I would literally not even know what my own name is.
Oh, like, how could you proceed with anything in life?
You wouldn't.
No.
You would be so distraught.
Yes. But not Miss Janie. Just going on with life as usual. Well, moving forward, Janie's oldest son, Roger, who's 19, gets married and he has his own son. Janie is so excited to be a grandmother and is just loving her grandson, Ronnie. The little family moves in with mom while they're navigating this new adventure. How
Oh God.
baby Ronnie started getting sick and suddenly dies at just 3 months old. He was healthy previously. Doctors are just stumped at what happened. Why would a relatively healthy child just pass away like this? And then a month later, his father, Roger, 19, after experiencing severe stomach cramps and dizziness, he passes away. So Janie, so they had initial autopsies done on all of on everybody, but Janie
Uh-huh.
tried to fight really hard for full autopsies to be performed, stating that she didn't want her family, members cut open. However, her daughter-in-law now is super suspicious, and for good reason. She just lost her newborn child and her husband.
And the mom has no say in the autopsies now.
Nope. So full autopsy is done. Family physician. I guess the family physician at this point was also like, "What is happening here?" So he was also pushing for these full autopsies, in which they did. So the full autopsy report, Roger had ingested a fatal amount of arsenic. Come to find out, Janie had been putting arsenic in his morning coffee every day. After the poisoning comes to light, the other bodies are exhumed, Charles, Melvin, and Marvin, and a full autopsy is done on each of them, showing arsenic present in their bodies. Janie admitted that she was feeding her family arsenic, and in February of 1968, she did stand trial. She was found guilty and sentenced to 5 life sentences. However, she was deemed incompetent, and instead of going to prison, they sent her to a psychiatric hospital where she remained there until 1999, when she was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease and released to the custody of her sister. And she passed away in 2010 in a nursing home in Douglasville, Georgia, bringing this awful case to an end.
I don't even know how I feel about. I
Yes.
almost want to be like, good for her to get Parkinson's disease, because like there's your karma.
Something. Yes.
But like, you didn't have to let her go.
But relatively cheap. I mean,
And why was she deemed incompetent?
because she's crazy.
Well, of course, anyone who does that is crazy, but that doesn't mean she's incompetent.
No, she fully knew well what she was doing. It's not like she just gave them one time and like, oh, what I do? No, this was like a long time. She was doing this for a very long time.
Also, I feel like she was doing it for the insurance money.
That has been stated, that has been speculated, I should say. But I mean, got to keep that bougie lifestyle up, I guess.
Like, she was just sick of her family, and she's like, F it, I'm gonna kill them all, I'm gonna live on the insurance money, and I'm gonna live my life
But the
how I
baby,
want.
but the tiny little baby, it's
I
terrible.
know, she killed all her kids then, right? None of them lived?
One of them, her husband, her 3 sons, and her grandson.
I just came in. Good for the daughter-in-law. Good for the daughter-in-law.
Yeah, it up. So
All right. Well, Carlton Gray, aka the Stocking Strangler, was born September 24th, 1950, in Columbus, Georgia. His father was a construction worker who wanted nothing to do with him and would not accept any financial responsibility. Gary met his bio father once in his life when he was 12 years old. Gary's mother was extremely poor and they moved around, so like a lot, like constantly moving multiple times in a year because she couldn't hold down a place. So, because of all of this, he was very malnourished, and most of the time, his aunt or great aunt, who were both maids for wealthy women, frequently had him. Like, they would just take him to work with them. In elementary, Gary suffered head trauma on the school playground, and as a teen, he was a heavy drug user. I mean, no one wants you.
Yeah,
Not
absolutely.
shocked at all by this statement. Between ages 14 and 18, he was arrested numerous times for robbery, arson, and assault. Girl, at 14?
Yeah, that's good.
At 14? Assault?
Hmm.
Gary married a woman named Sheila and they had two kids. And then in 1970, Gary moved to New York and became a singer. Well, at least that's what his goal was, okay? Gary is an American serial killer who murdered three elderly women in Columbus, Georgia, and one in Syracuse, New York, between 1975 and 1978. He's also suspected of four other killings. So on February 12th, 1970, Marion Brewer, age 62, was found strangled in her room at the Hampton Hotel in Albany. She was discovered face up on her bed, raped, with visible marks on her throat. Her pocketbook was found near her head with no money in it, like laying wide open, and all he took was the money. 2 months later, April 14th, 1970, Nellie M. Farmer, age 85, was found dead in her room at the Wellington Hotel, also in Albany. Her partially clothed body was found on the floor near the bed, with a long piece of fabric near her neck. So he strangled her to death. She had been raped and strangled. Gary attempted an assault on a third elderly woman, and he was arrested, and fingerprints matched the Farmer murder. So Gary admitted to the robbery of Farmer, but said John Lee Mitchell was the murderer.
Who dat?
Gary testified against Mitchell in court, and Mitchell was charged despite no material evidence connecting him to the crime.
They had his fingerprints.
I know, and not the other dudes.
No, like Gary's fingerprints.
Correct. Gary was charged with robbery for that incident, and he was paroled in 1975 and moved to Syracuse, New York. Gary attacked, raped, and strangled two more elderly women in their homes, and one of those women died. The attacks were within 4 days of each other. Two survivors were unable to positively identify Gary. One knew the attacker was black and had a mustache and that she was strangled with a scarf, but she still couldn't positively identify him because it was dark. Gary was never charged in either of those cases. However, he was sent back when he violated his parole by selling stolen coins. So they couldn't identify him and they couldn't place him at the scene. There was no evidence, even though he had stolen coins from one of the ladies and sold them.
Mikey's got the coins.
Like, that's not evidence, apparently? I don't know. And it wasn't enough evidence.
Hmm.
On August 22nd, 1977, Gary escaped from his low security prison by sawing through the bars of his cell and made it to Columbus, Georgia. 1 month later, September 16th, 1977, he raped, beat, and strangled 60-year-old Fernay Jackson to death with a nylon stocking at her home in Whatton district of Columbus. 9 days later, he killed 71-year-old Jean Dimston in a similar fashion, followed by 89-year-old Florence Schrebel. I probably butchered that. You can go ahead in the comments and tell me, but on October 21st, and 69-year-old Martha Thurmond on October 25th.
He is busy. Oh
I
my,
don't like, girl, he has way too much time on his hands. It clearly isn't working, right?
no.
On December 28th, Gary rapes and kills 74-year-old Kathleen Woodruff 2 months later, on February 12th, 1978, Gary attacked Ruth Schwab, but fled when she triggered a bedside alarm. He went 2 blocks down and broke into Mildred Brahm's house, raping and strangling the 78-year-old. His final victim was 61-year-old Janet Coffer, whom he murdered on April 20th, 1978. Police announced the suspect was African American, and things became more complicated when a man calling himself the chairman of the forces of evil threatened to murder selected black women if the stocking strangler was not stopped.
The chairman of the forces of evil.
Well, so you're gonna just kill random women if they don't catch the guy who's killing other people? What? Why? And what? William Henry Hentz made this threat and was trying to cover up his own 3 murders by blaming white vigilantes. So Hantz was arrested on April 4th, and police hoped that he was the stocking strangler, but their hopes were dashed when Coffer was murdered. So they arrested him, and then Coffer was murdered. And they were like, well, crap, that's on our person.
Oops.
So on December 1978, following a robbery in Gaffney, South Carolina, Gary was arrested and he confessed and was sentenced to 21 years for armed robbery. Gary escaped from custody on March 15th, 1983, and was on the run for a year. A gun and fingerprint led them to believe he's the serial killer they've been looking for. Overall, Gary is alleged to have raped 9 and murdered 7 elderly women between 77 and 78 in Columbus, Georgia. Gary was convicted in 3 of those cases. 2 survivors testified against him in court. His fingerprints were found at 4 of the scenes. So he was convicted on August 26th, 1986 for 3 murders and sentenced to death. So he got the death sentence.
I mean, as he should, he keeps escaping.
Yeah, I mean, a journalist, David Rose, says Gary's lawyer was denied state funding to carry out his defense. Gary's prints weren't a match until the case was re-examined years later. So this is all from this reporter, David Rose. He's trying to fight and say that Gary is not their person. Yeah. Gary's interview where he confessed wasn't taped, and the officer wrote the report days later from his memory. Okay.
There was fingerprint evidence.
But there was still fingerprint evidence. Exactly. The DNA supposedly matched some of the crime scenes. However, further evidence could not be tested because the police contaminated the samples. So, I don't know. It was shoddy police work. And
It was early 80s. Like,
yes,
they probably did the best that they could, or best that they knew at the time.
could have also been prejudiced. Unsure. It doesn't really say that in here, but that's my thought process. Like, that could have been part of it too. Doesn't mean he didn't do it.
Right.
Gary's bite mark didn't match, but he had dental work done after the murders while in prison. So they didn't even take his bite mark until after he's had this dental work done. You can't even use that as evidence, as far as I'm concerned. A woman who testified against Gary at first said she couldn't identify her attacker, and she later identified a different man as her attacker. So she's not reliable.
No.
They kept shoe print evidence from the defense for 10 years. They didn't even tell them they have this shoe print evidence. Prosecution withheld blood secretion evidence, which made Gary not the killer. The book, The Big Eddie Club, The Stocking Strangles, and Southern Justice. There's an actual book out there that you could get if you want to read more about this, where Rose talks about prosecutors judges, and police who are part of a whites only club. In 2007, so let's flash forward, Gary was positively linked through DNA to the rape and murder of 40-year-old Marion Fisher. She was attacked in 1975 in Nedrow, New York. They never prosecuted him for fear of escape. So he's already in prison in Georgia on death sentence. Because they know how well he can escape, they refuse to transport him to get him on this other murder. So even if they were being prejudiced in Georgia, even if some of the stuff wasn't his, they
There's
know he did something.
yes.
December 1st, 2009, the U.S. Supreme Court refused to hear Gary's latest appeal, clearing the way for an execution date to be set. December 16th, hours before execution, the Georgia Supreme Court halted the execution to hold a hearing and determine whether DNA tests should be conducted to determine Gary's innocence or guilt. Because there was so much outcry from the community. February 28th, 2018, a new execution date was set for March 15th, 2018. So on March 15th, 2018, Carlton Gary was executed by lethal injection and he died at 10:33 p.m., ending all this insanity.
That's like how many 40 that's like 50 years.
Uh-huh.
40,
Girl, yes, I know.
wow.
Yup.
Okay. Well, let us finish this off with a little of the unexplained. So, Georgia's cryptid creature, the Georgia Swamp Thing. The Okefenokee Swamp in Georgia is said to be home to not only alligators, black bears, bobcats, and snakes, but there's also a beast lurking. It inhabits the swamp and it's known as the Georgia Swamp Thing. Yes, there have been comics and movies depicting this creature, but could you even imagine seeing this in like real life? With its massive body, loud roar, there have been tracks discovered measuring over 19 inches long. Scary, right? That's a big boy right there. Have you or anyone you know actually seen a real life swamp thing? Let us know. We are interested.
19 inches.
Yeah, they're big boy.
Holy Bigfoot. Okay. Well, we would like to thank you for joining us in our discoveries of Georgia this week. Please join us next week while we travel to Hawaii. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss our adventures next week into killers, psychos, and the unexplained.
Goodbye.
Bye.